You want me to repeat? Okay, so we're going to call to order the Labor, Education, and Workforce Development and Youth Committee. I have to my immediate left Dr. Larry Deutsch and myself, Arjo Wentz, the chair at the meeting this evening. We have a couple of items that we will be discussing this evening. We have one resolution requesting that all contractual payment agreements and ongoing monitoring and enforcement be made immediately available from this administration by regular reporting to the council and to the public, and a special request interest or affected persons or agencies. So Councilman Deutsch, you want to explain that to us?
Yes, and thank you. And welcome to all those who are here or viewing elsewhere. We have a few copies of this resolution, and the intent was this. It was stimulated by the complaint of some residents of Hartford that their personal information needed to be shared with a contractor who was located far away from Hartford. And there was no direct assurance that that information sent away to that company by contract with the city would be protected from release. At least not that we could find, through asking people in the city, show us the contract with the city that shows how your own information will be handled. So the resolution is kind of long, and I hoped maybe in this committee or from other people before it goes to the full council, that they will give their opinion or any personal experiences they had where they had to send information to a company or some agency that they weren't sure about, that they weren't sure was authorized to get their stuff. So there's some language that all of this should be publicly disclosed. So that they can read it. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, so that the language should be publicly disclosed, and part of the law, a resolution or an ordinance that would tell people that such and such a company was authorized to receive their information and handle it carefully and then send back the results to the city. It's not so unusual a concept, but it has to be formalized, otherwise there could be sloppiness. And some of us, to tell the truth, in the city found that there was a little sloppiness by asking people to send their information somewhere, and they didn't know exactly who was authorized to get that information and then to protect it from bad uses or hacking or something like that. And so that way their personal lives could be affected if the city didn't have a good contract to protect it, and the council didn't know and feel confident that this was a reputable company and would protect their information. Otherwise, how can you do business?
All right, so let me stop right there, because I want to just get to the resolve part. So what is it exactly in your revised resolution you're asking the city to do?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad this questioning is important. The word transparency is used all the time, where the council and anyone living in the city or in the public should be able to see what the contract says, and any ongoing agreements or payments should be public information. Because if it's kept private, there's no telling what will happen. It's just careless. And so it says the resolved that all contractual and payment agreements and ongoing monitoring and enforcement should be made available from the administration. That means from the mayor or any of the departments, by reporting to city council, because we're supposed to have checks and balances, reporting to council and the public, and any special request of a citizen who wants to know what happened to my information, who got it and shouldn't have. So it means being public. And there are two little examples in the footnotes here. I'll just add in another sentence. One was a company by the name of Sakova. It's based out in California. It's an LLC That means they only have but so much liability. And they asked to check everyone's information to see if they were eligible for health coverage. And some people didn't have confidence that they were qualified to do it. And so there was no certainty that they could have come to someone here in the city in human relations or something in order to say, okay, this is authorized, or we examined your papers and find they're okay, even if others send it away to this corp. So that's the resolve. And the two examples, the other one was, people may know that there was a teenager who lost his life in a swimming pool over some time ago that should have been monitored by good cameras, 24 hours a day working. And, teenagers make mistakes, but some people feel the city didn't have operating cameras on the swimming pool at that time to know that some kids were playing there and to send someone to protect them, basically. I mean, that's all it is. It gets emotional. And so we in the city, I think we agree. We have to be very careful about protecting people who trust us to have safe and healthy conditions or protection of their information.
Let's just stay focused on the item at hand. And in full disclosure, I want to say on that the city had a more than 10-foot fence up around the pool, and the individual climbed over the fence. So that got nothing to do with what is going on with this here tonight. So let's just stay focused on this. And as I understand it, that as we're dealing with individuals and their health care or insurance, and they have to submit personal information such as date of birth, social security numbers, that individuals want to feel comfortable that their information is getting to the place where it's supposed to go and not to some erroneous company. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. That's an important part of it. The reason I mentioned the other thing is monitoring. People are supposed to have a responsibility under contract to keep their equipment operational because we pay them to do it.
But that got nothing to do
So,
with this.
well,
That got nothing to do with
right, it has to do with protection and contracts that we in City Council are supposed to be sure are adequate and correct. So if we need to revise this, it's fine with me, as long as we accomplish the goal of protecting people's information as well as their lives.
Okay, so that would be a whole different resolution there, Councilman Dwight, because this right here, resolution, you're dealing with storage and use of protected information. So if you want to address the other issue, then we can address that, but that would be another committee. That would be Public Parks and Works. That would be that.
Fine, okay.
So are there any other inputs from the individuals here tonight about this resolution? Are you all clear to what he's asking? You are, okay.
If I can say, if anyone watching this at home wants to ask us any more questions, we certainly welcome that. If they say, but what about this, but what about that?
So give them a phone number to call, because by the time they see it, it will be long gone. The
Fine,
meeting will be
okay,
gone.
okay.
So give them a contact phone number.
All right, fine. The phone contact, my own office, I'm only there sometimes, is 860-757-9577. But the better person who works with me more in the office is Shelley Jackson, and her number is 860-757-9569. And of course, their email addresses too, if you want. Her email address is jacks004@hartford.gov. And mine is deutl001@hartford.gov. And Councilwoman Winch can certainly give her own because she is a good listener as well.
Exactly, and mine is simple. It's rjowinch@hartford.gov. So, all right, so I'll entertain a motion on moving this favorable to the council, pending that there are no personnel or, corporation council legalese information that we need to have in here that might be missing. So we will, I'll entertain a motion to move it to the council favorable.
So move.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So, all right, so item number 1 passed. Just to make sure that we submit the revised copy, the amended version for council. And then 19 was a refund. from Centerplan to give to DPW a raise. We're gonna probably postpone this one because DPW workers union are not here. So I think that we needed to have that further discussion before moving this one forward. Go ahead. Yeah.
If I can make one comment to all. When this was written, there was a court decision that Centerplan needed to pay the city $310,000. And someone in Corp Counsel's office told me that if I held my breath, I'd die a long time before we ever saw that money. But since that time, there's been another settlement, as people may know, from the Dillon Stadium, and the city is due another $500,000 from that settlement. Now, so far as I know, that's not allocated yet, and the thing many of us agree on is especially the workers in DPW, that is the men, it's mostly men, who collect our garbage, have very low pay and have risk of injuries when they're behind the trucks, and some of them have gotten hurt, and the health insurance doesn't always cover it. So we think it's appropriate when the city gets that money, or maybe there's some money from people who have unfilled positions. There are many departments where so-and-so left and the position is unfilled, which means a vacancy, which means the money is not spent, and we could, through a mechanism that we know in City Council, transfer it into DPW to pay those workers a decent wage. Some of them, after working for 10 years, only getting $18, $19, or $20 an hour for hazardous work. It's not that they're the only ones in the city don't get paid well, but these are ones that we focused on, and you can meet them any day. You go out to your sanitation trucks that pass and ask them how are they paid, what's their take home after all the deductions. You'll find it's dreadfully low, below a living wage sometimes for people that have families. So this is a motion to investigate and maybe to make that transfer from some departments that haven't spent it or from these settlements. We'll have to modify that and keep it alive. It's an issue.
So, I failed to have everybody who was here to introduce themselves. We'll go back and do that. And you mentioned an interesting word, investigate, because it doesn't say here. It says resolve that we allocate. It doesn't, or transfer. It doesn't say investigate, because I think that would be easier to pass through, that we investigate the feasibility of being able to do this, because I think that this needs to be negotiated through their union reps, and not having that conversation with them, it's hard to say, yes, we should do this without figuring out that piece first. So let me have everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll go back.
Oh, okay.
I am Beverly Red. I work for the Hartford Public Library as the Career Pathway Initiative Program Coordinator, and specific to the American Place, TAP.
Good evening, I'm Jane Kroll, Assistant Director for the City's Department of Families, Children, Youth, and Recreation.
Good evening. Dr. Karen Assermley Fatou, the mother of Abraham Fatou, was willing to volunteer on the committee. I'm a chemist, a pharmacologist, and a teacher candidate, and a Hartford resident.
All right, so thank you all for being here. All right, so Councilman Deutsch, we were talking about this item about the allocation of the awards that the city received at $335,000. So I was saying that we possibly can postpone it and have a conversation with the mayor's office to see if they have not already decided somewhere to put those funds, and also have a conversation with the union leadership to find out if there needs to be renegotiated in a contract.
Okay, through the chair, if I may comment. We've had some of the union leadership here, in fact, at the last meeting. And they have testified about their low salaries and shown me their pay stubs. And also the suggestion was made as a supplement over and above the union contract, like hazardous pay. They pointed out that, as I just said, their pay in sanitation trucks, is sometimes hazardous. They get injured by, maybe rats that jump out of the garbage or sharp objects that shouldn't be in it. So you could in our opinion, and we can research it, it's a good question, through Corporation Counsel, when you have a union contract, as members of DPW generally do, does it violate any contract if they're given supplemental or hazardous pay over and beyond what's called for in the contract? And that's been done lots of times here in Hartford. People get bonus pay. Supposedly they work very hard, and in old days when Joe Winch and I were on the council, we had fights about some people getting a whole lot of bonus pays when they were over 100,000 already, things like that. So it's a good idea to get a statement that yes, it's legal, and when the money is found, either in a different department, let's say in child and families, or management and budget. Okay, but let's say in management and budget, let's say someone left to get another job, and so for 2-3 months, that position was unfilled. That means that money is left over, and so would we be correct in saying, well, it's deserved in another department? All we need to have is a resolution of City Council. It's called an interdepartmental transfer. And whether that be the mayor's office, management and budget, finance, anything. I've already asked them, by the way, I've already asked them to count up the days of unfilled positions and times it by the money saved in that. And I did that a few weeks ago. We just haven't gotten the numbers. And I would say, if we get the numbers in the next week or so, believe me, I'll put it right in and say transfer, let's say $45,000 from this department into DPW. And I think most people would agree.
All right, so I don't have an issue with the concept. I think that we just need to work on the whereas, and probably it's not a violation of contract for hazardous pay, incentive pay, or bonuses, but we still would need to have conversation with the administration to see how we would make that happen, what dollar amount they would be willing to transfer. So I still say we need to postpone it so we can have conversation and work that piece out. So I'll
Okay,
make a
well,
motion to postpone.
you can't, there's no discussion of a motion to postpone, and I would say the information is worthwhile, as long as we don't postpone it and postpone it and postpone it.
No, we just need to postpone it until so when you do the minutes, we're going to postpone it until we get the information about hazardous pay, incentive pay, and bonus pay.
Right, either to the next meeting, which, by the way, for the public, is not Monday, the 14th, but it's Tuesday, the 15th, because
You're talking about council meeting.
council meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Well, we could take it up at the full council if we have.
If we get the information.
If the chairperson decides to discharge it to the full council, she's entitled to do that, and then the whole council will say, "Oh, this is fine."
Right. Provided we get the information.
That's right.
I don't want to move it forward and we don't have the information, and then the council postpones it because we don't have the information. Okay?
Yes.
All right, so.
Agree. I second the motion to postpone it.
All right. So that is it for our agenda items. But if there's any other conversations that you all wanted to have or brought with you, we'll hear that now. Go, you got to take the mic.
Oh.
I am here to provide an update on the programs that are being offered in the American Place. And so I'll quickly pass this around. It's a program, and I won't go through every single one, but just the highlight. And one of it is the Career Pathway Initiative Program, which received a grant 3 years ago to start this program as a workforce development for residents of Hartford or the greater Hartford area. We have since scaled the program, so we offer specifically to the food service industry, we offer food handler, restaurant server, bartending training, and food manager training. And that program has been extremely successful. At least 75% of our students that go through the program end up with employment. So the program is at the Hartford Public Library is where it's being offered. So the address is 500 Main Street, Hartford, Connecticut. If you would like to make contact, you can call me at 860-695-6292. My email address is bredd, B-R-E-D-D, @hplct.org. The grant is over as of June. However, we are in the process of seeking additional funding that will allow us to continue to offer this program to the greater Hartford community. We also have two other programs, the digital literacy program, if someone is trying to build their computer skills. And we have Crossroad to Connectivity for individuals that don't have a laptop or Wi-Fi at home, and that such a program would benefit them in terms of building their skills for the workforce.
You mentioned computers at home, which is really, really good because everybody in the city of Hartford does not have. There is a company called the Nutmeg Networks in Windsor who are doing refurbish of Chromebooks. And what a Chromebook is basically a tablet. And they are dispersing them with fully loaded software for like about roughly $300. So, and they're willing to also do like payment plans for individuals. So if there are individuals who want to purchase a Chromebook, who don't have $300 right away, like over 6 months, you can own it by making partial payments to them. And it's the Nutmeg Network in Windsor. I'll get the contact information for you, so as people are going through with their computer skills training, that if they can purchase that, and then that way they can practice at home and then come back to the training.
May I add something? If I can add this, a year or two ago, there were closures of some local branch libraries, and it was said to be for budget reasons, and I think this program is really good. And you know, I haven't said so much explicitly before. It's really good and really important. But there are some people who live in neighborhoods where they just cannot get downtown. Either they have disabilities or they don't have the bus fare, or it's too difficult, especially in winter. And so they told us that it was important not to close those 4 smaller branches. And the challenge was to find the money to do both, to have a program like this or other programs, whether it be music or other teaching, and keep the local branches open, even if they don't have a lot of business. Because sometimes you'd have daycare providers who would take their little kids to a local branch library, and it was just wonderful to see. The kids could play, they could read, all that. So a library is more than just books. And so there can be attention, which I urge the library staff to do, and I've said that to the director. Let's reopen some branches. If they're not in a separate building, then in the local schools. And that has been done in a couple of cases. Rawson Library, but like West Middle used to have a library, now it's just shut down. So for those neighborhoods, if we focus at least on some evening hours for workers, let's say, they can use the computers there. They can get the help of a librarian, a live person, and not just a computer face. So I would say to everyone that we must have local branch libraries, even if Hartford may have more than some other city. That's to the good. That's not bad. And we should work it in, and that would answer some questions of teaching in the community, computers and all that. So. And if you feel the same way, anyone watching, please let us know in council, let the library know that it's important, even in a school that has the facilities, keep it open in the evening. Have some of these programs there.
So so along the lines what he was saying, is it able to be mobile? Is it only at the library downtown?
Over the past year, we have offered the program at the Barber Street branch in the evening hours, both the food handler class and the digital literacy program. So while there may be limited hours and there difficulty with residents coming to the downtown, we're very sensitive to that, and we are actually going out into the community to deliver some of these programs.
So we would say we need plenty of that. For instance, when they first did it, they closed the Goodwin branch and said people can just take a bus, but there is no bus that goes from Goodwin to Canfield. So we encourage that kind of thing in the future. When you all come to us at budget time in May, or who's ever still here, I should say, we want to include a little more attention to those school opportunities, because the school building is there, it's warm, it has lights on, and you can invite people to any local school. Thank you.
County Recreation, you bring something for us today? Oh, nothing, zero, no update, zero? All right, your Hartford resident, you bring something to share with us today? No? Just come? No? Nothing? Oh. Okay, nope. Nope, you don't have to, you don't have to. All right, so. Excellent, excellent. So there you go, you get a volunteer. Excellent. So we're all. Yep. Absolutely. Good, great. All righty. All right, so if there is no other business for this evening, this concludes the Labor, Education, Workforce Development, and Youth Committee for October the 3rd, 2019 at 550 Main Street. Oh, one other thing.
Everyone should know, as we touched on before, that the first council meeting of each month, which is the second Monday, has a public comment portion before it from 6 to 7. But this month, it'll be on Tuesday, October 15th. But you can come in from 6 o'clock to 7 and speak on anything you wish. You know, praise, complaints, you can speak to council members. Public comment, 6 o'clock on Tuesday, October 16th, and then the next month, November, you know, the same, the second Monday of the month. Thank you.
All right, so this concludes our meeting. Thank you all for attending.